Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture number 7 of current electricity. So in the previous lecture we have seen the Kirchhoff's law. Kirchhoff law consists of two rules. First rule says the sum of electric current incoming and outgoing. The algebraic sum is equal to 0 and it is also called KCL, that is Kirchhoff's current law. Second law of Kirchhoff's is Kirchhoff's voltage law, for which we need to understand the concept of a loop. So in a loop, if we add the voltages, so sigma delta V comes out to be 0 in second rule. So today we will start our discussion by comparison between Kirchhoff's first law and Kirchhoff's second law. So if we start the comparison between the first law and second law, first difference is definition itself. So first law says summation of I is equals to 0 and second law says summation of delta V, that is potential difference, is equal to 0 for a loop. As for first law, we need to understand the concept of a junction only. So it can be applicable to open circuit or closed circuit, whatever the type of the circuit may be. If it is a closed circuit or an open circuit, it would have a junction in it. So the first law can be applicable to open circuit or a closed circuit. And in the second law, we need the potential difference across each element. So for the elements in a circuit, we need a closed circuit. So the second law can be applicable to closed circuit only. First law of Kirchhoff supports the law of conservation of charge. You can see it here. Sigma I is equals to 0. If I multiply it by a small time interval delta t or t, then I into t will become q and sigma q will come out to be 0. So I can say the first law of Kirchhoff supports the law of conservation of charges. Second law of Kirchhoff supports the law of conservation of energy. As you can see, in any closed circuit, the energy is provided by EMF source and it is one type of electrostatic energy, and electrostatic energy is a conservative in nature. So the second law, as it says the sum of potential differences equal to 0, there is no gain or loss of energy. That's why it supports the law of conservation of energy. As first law deals with current and it deals with junction, so we call it junction law or current law, and in short we can call it KCL or KJL. This is Kirchhoff's current law and Kirchhoff's junction law is same, which is first law. And the second law deals with potential difference, so it is known as voltage law or loop or mesh law. Loop can be called mesh in other language. So it is our KVL and Kirchhoff's voltage law. Next topic in your chapter is Wheatstone bridge principle. So before going to Wheatstone bridge principle, first we will see what is that Wheatstone bridge. So Wheatstone bridge is nothing but a type of circuit where this type of circuit, which is like in this arrangement, where 2 points of this arrangement are connected with the battery and 2 points are connected with the galvanometer. And in this arrangement is done by which we can calculate the unknown resistance from it. If we know the three resistances, by knowing the Wheatstone bridge principle, we can calculate the value of fourth unknown resistance. So Wheatstone bridge is an arrangement of 4 resistances in the form of a bridge, which is used for measuring one unknown resistance in terms of 3 known resistance. So one resistance is unknown here and 3 resistances are known. We can calculate the unknown resistance with the help of 3 known resistances. So in this structure, say this resistance is P, this resistance is Q, this resistance is R, and this is S. And when I switch on this key, current start flowing in it. Current starts flowing from positive terminal of the battery in these two branches. Then comes to the negative terminal of the battery. And there are two conditions in Wheatstone bridge. First is unbalanced condition and other is balanced condition. So in unbalanced condition, you can see here between point B and D there is one galvanometer connected, and between point A and C there is this source of battery and this key. So when I switch on this key, current start flowing in it, and if there is no current between B and D and the galvanometer shows no deflection, then this system is called in balanced condition. But if there is some current between B and D, then this is in unbalanced condition. So in balanced condition, when there is no current between B and D, we can say the potential between B and D, potential at point B and potential at point D are same. That's why there is no current. That type of condition is our balanced condition. As galvanometer is connected in the circuit to detect the current, so if there is current in galvanometer, then there is some potential difference between B and D. So when there is no current in galvanometer, then potential of VB will be equal to potential at VD. But when there is current in galvanometer, means VB will not be equal to VD. So Wheatstone bridge principle is when this type of circuit is in balanced condition, then ratio of P and Q, that is P divided by Q, is equal to R divided by S. This rule is applicable only when the circuit is in balanced condition. So this is called Wheatstone bridge principle. So now we will prove this principle using Kirchhoff's laws. Wheatstone principle is applicable only when the Wheatstone bridge is in balanced condition. So we will now prove the Wheatstone principle. So this is our circuit, and between the branch A and B, P resistor is connected. Similarly in branch B, between the branch B and C, Q resistor is connected. Similarly R and S are connected likewise. So when I switch on this circuit, current starts flowing from the positive terminal of the battery to negative terminal of the battery. Suppose the current which is flowing from battery to point A is I, then it bifurcates into two. One goes to AB branch, other goes to AD branch. Suppose I bifurcates into I1 and I2, and again when I goes in this point B, this is the current in galvanometer, and when the bridge is balanced, means Ig equal to 0. So there will be no current between these 2 points B and D, and Ig equals to 0. So I1 goes in the branch BC and I2 goes in the branch DC, and at point C, I1 and I2 combine and make current I, which goes to the negative terminal of the battery. So for the application of Kirchhoff's law, I need loop. So first loop I consider as ABDA and second loop as BCDB. This is the second loop, this is the first loop. So applying Kirchhoff's law in the loop ABDA, as I am starting from point A, then going to point B, D, then A. So when I start my journey from point A to point B, the potential difference across the resistance P is V, from V is equals to IR. Potential difference will be equal to, in the place of I, it is I1, and in the place of resistance it is P, and it will come with a negative sign because the current is going in this direction and I am calculating the potential difference across it. So this point will have less potential compared to this. Similarly, after that, when I go to the branch BD, there is no current. Current value is equals to 0. So, value of potential will be again 0. Then I go from point D to point A and I come across a resistance R. And see here, I am going in the opposite direction of current. Current I2 is flowing from A to D and I am going from D to A. So, the value of potential will be in positive sign and it is I2 into R. And from Kirchhoff's second law, it comes out to be 0. So from this equation, I get I1 divided by I2 as R divided by P as first equation. Now I will apply Kirchhoff's law in second loop, that is B, C, D, B. So in the loop B, C, D, B, you can see I am starting my journey from point B to C first. So first I come across the resistance Q. So for this, potential will be in negative sign as I am going in the direction of current. So it is I1 into Q. Then I move towards this point. From this point to this point, this is C point and this is D point. And I come across this resistance. This resistance is S. As I am going in the opposite direction of current, so it will be in positive sign. I2 into S. Again, when I complete this loop, current value is 0, so voltage will also be 0 and this will be the form of equation. And from this equation, I get I2S is equal to I1Q, or I can say I1 divided by I2 from this equation comes out to be S divided by Q. This is my second equation. So now I have two equations. One is I1 divided by I2 equals to R divided by P. R and P are resistances of this loop, and I1 by I2 is equals to S divided by Q, and S and Q are the resistances of this loop. So from equation number 1 and 2, from equation number 1 and 2, I can equate R by P is equal to S divided by Q, and after rearranging it, I get P divided by Q is equals to R divided by S. So this is the proof of Wheatstone-Bridge principle. So Wheatstone-Bridge principle applies only in balanced condition. Balanced condition means Ig should be equal to 0, means there should be no potential difference between the point B and D. Then P by Q is equals to R by S. This is our Wheatstone-Bridge principle. So we can say Wheatstone-Bridge principle states that when Wheatstone-Bridge is in balanced condition, then P divided by Q is equals to R divided by S, where P and Q are in ratio arms, or AB and BC are called ratio arms. As Wheatstone-Bridge calculates the unknown resistance, using this Wheatstone-Bridge principle, a device is used or made on the basis of Wheatstone-Bridge principle. This device is called meter bridge. So now we will see the description, diagram and function of the meter bridge. So a meter bridge looks like this. A meter bridge has a wooden box. This blue lined is a box, wooden box. It has two L-shaped copper strips and one copper strip like this. Between point A and B, one wire is connected of length 1 meter, that is 100 centimeter. That's why it is called a meter bridge. And aside this wire, a meter scale is also attached, and between the point A and B there is one battery, one rheostat, and these 2 points are connected with the help of a key. You see here there are 2 L-shaped copper strips, and this point is connected with this strip with the R1 resistor. This resistance is unknown. We need to find this resistance, and between this gap a resistance box is connected, means R2 resistance we know already. And in this wire is uniform in cross section, so we connect the middle point of this middle strip with a key and a galvanometer. So with the help of jockey, we slide jockey in this wire, and when the galvanometer shows the no deflection condition, then the meter bridge is in, or we can say the Wheatstone bridge principle can be applicable in the meter bridge when there is no deflection in the galvanometer. So starting from the first we connect this key, and current starts flowing from point A to this circuit, and we have 4 resistances here. R1 resistance is unknown, R2 resistance we know because it is of the resistance box, and from the middle point of this copper strip C we connect a key and galvanometer, and this galvanometer has one jockey in it. So we slide our jockey in this resistance wire. As this resistance wire has uniform cross section, so at some point it will show no deflection point, means the current between these 2 points will be 0, or we can say the Wheatstone bridge or this meter bridge is in balanced condition. So now we can apply the Wheatstone bridge principle here. Then R1 divided by R3 will be equal to R2 divided by R4. So subject of this experiment is to find the unknown resistance. R1 is our unknown resistance, and principle is Wheatstone bridge principle. So this is our wooden box, and this is meter scale attached with this experiment. This is meter scale, and this is galvanometer. Suppose I said in the beginning that the length of this wire is 1 meter, or 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So when the balanced point comes, suppose there is no deflection in the galvanometer and the length of this section is L, suppose, then the length of this section will be 100 minus L. This is the length L, as the whole length of this wire is 100 centimeter. So this length will be 100 minus L centimeter. As the wire from point A to point B is same and is of same uniform cross section, so I can write R3 as R is equals to rho L upon A. So if rho is the resistivity, then R3 can be written as rho L divided by A, and R4 is this resistance. R4 will be equal to rho, length of this section is 100 minus L divided by A. So if I divide R3 by R4, then I get rho upon A cancel out, and I am left with L divided by 100 minus L. Now when the meter bridge is in balanced condition, from Wheatstone bridge principle, P divided by Q is equal to R divided by S, and in this case here R1 divided by R3 will be equal to R2 divided by R4. So here R1 divided by R3 will be equal to R2 divided by R4. As we know, R1 is our unknown resistance. So from here R1 is equal to R3 divided by R4. And by putting this value, I get R1 as R1 equal to R2 we know this is known resistance, and R3 by R4 is L divided by 100 minus L. So from this formula we can calculate the unknown resistance in the meter bridge. As in this question we don't know the value of R3 and R4, as the wire is same in R3 and R4, we can calculate or we can convert it in the form of length. So only by knowing the length of R3 and R4 and the value of one resistance, we can calculate the unknown resistance with the help of meter bridge or Wheatstone bridge principle. So this is all for today. Thank you for watching this video.